Right, Ms. Vallow, before I impose sentence, if you choose, you may address the court. This is known as the right of allocution, which permits you to make a statement on your own behalf or present any information in mitigation of the punishment for the crimes you've committed. And let me inquire at this time, do you wish to address this court? All right, very well, you may make your statement.
All right, here we go. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Let's get it.
I'd like to start by quoting John from the New Testament in the Bible.
Don't quote nothing from my Bible. Don't quote nothing from our Bible. You devil, you.
In John chapter 8, verse 7, Jesus says, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her." Then in verse 15, Jesus says, "Ye judge after the flesh, I judge no man. And yet if I judge, my judgment is true." Jesus.
Oh, I believe that. Oh, I believe that.
Jesus knows me.
Why'd she say Jesus like that? Let's listen again.
Jesus knows.
Girl, yes, he knows you. He knows what a whole piece of shit you are. What a whole cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs you are.
And Jesus understands me. I mourn with all of you who mourn.
Nah, girl.
My children and Tammy.
No, you don't.
Jesus.
You mourn for yourself, bitch. Let's keep it real. You was off living happily ever after. You mourn for yourself.
Christ knows the truth of what happened here.
Yes, he does.
Jesus Christ knows that no one was murdered in this case.
He does not know that. Do not put words in God's mouth. He did not say that he knows that there was no murder here. You murdered. You assisted. You are a piece of shit. And I am inclined to believe that Jesus Christ knows that.
Accidental deaths happen.
No.
Suicides happen.
No.
Fatal side effects from medications happen.
Okay, but what's that got to do with anything? Because that's not what happened to your kids. Not one little bit what happened to your kids.
I have a different perspective in life because in 2002, when I was pregnant with Tylee, I died in the hospital while in labor with her. They tried to stop my labor. They put me on the table and they put something in my IV and I felt my spirit falling to the floor.
So because of this, she has a different perspective on heaven and Christianity and Jesus and God. No, you might have had an out-of-body experience. I've heard it happens a lot. But you're claiming that the things you know are because of this experience you had. Girl, no.
I was standing near my pregnant body, watching the doctors try to revive me, which took them a few minutes. In that time, my sister Stacy was standing to my left. I turned to hug her and was surprised that her spirit was as tangible as a physical body because I knew I was in spirit and she was in spirit. She said she needed to show me some things and we went to heaven. I later returned to my body.
Okay.
Because of this experience, I have access to heaven and the spirit world.
Which you'll probably never have access to again, because right here, I hear no accountability, no regret, no sorrow, but justification is what you're trying to do. I doubt you'll see heaven again if that's how you're going to roll with this.
Since then, I have had many communications from people now living in heaven, including my children, Tylee Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson.
Oh, so you're saying they're reaching out to you from heaven, from beyond. No, girl, because once you're in heaven, the Bible even says it. Once you're in heaven, if you believe the Bible, you know no more sorrow. You don't look back and look at what's going on with your mom and her court case because she had you guys murdered or took part in murdering you. Yeah, that's not how it works. They know nothing about what's going on here with you because they know nothing but happiness now.
My sisters, Stacy and Lolly, my aunts and my uncles, and my grandparents. I've had many communications with Jesus Christ, the Savior of this world, and our heavenly parents. I've had many angelic visitors have come and communicated with me and even manifested themselves to me. Because of these communications, I know for a fact that my children are happy and busy in the spirit world.
Yes, they are happy in heaven. Where are we going with this, Lori? Where are we going with this? Because this isn't even making any sense right now. You have no regrets. Like, it's almost like you're justifying what you did because you know they're happy in the spirit world. Girl, shut the fuck up.
Because of my communications with my friend Tammy Daybell, I know that she is also very happy and extremely busy.
Oh, did she tell you that? Did she tell you, thank you, for marrying my husband and having an affair with my husband and, you know, doing this whole let's kill them because they're zombies thing? Did she tell you thank you for that? And furthermore, is she working a 9 to 5 in the spirit world? JJ and Tylee aren't even old enough to work a 9 to 5 in the spirit world. So what kind of work are they doing, Lori? What kind of work are they doing? Nothing. They're living happy and free, and they know nothing. They don't even remember you.
I have always mourned the loss of my loved ones, and I have lost many in this mortal world. However, I know them more than most people. I know where they are now and what they're doing. I know how wonderful heaven is, and I'm homesick for it every single day.
Well, stay homesick, bitch, because you ain't getting there.
I know we all lived in heaven before we were born on earth, and we were all adult spirits in the heavenly realm. We chose to come to earth as mortals.
Oh, Lord.
Heaven is more wonderful.
No. That's not how it works. Jesus. Did they get...
Than you
She needs some medicine.
can possibly imagine. I do not fear death, but I look forward to it.
You shouldn't, because you go into Hades.
I did not want to return to my body when I was out of it. Even though my son Colby, who I adored more than anything, was only 6 years old at the time, and I was about to give birth to this new baby girl that I wanted so badly.
Oh, yeah. You wanted her, huh? Only to let her grow up a little bit and murder her. Okay.
I was a young mother, and you would think I wouldn't want to leave my children, but as I stood in heaven, I did not want to go back. I thought they would be fine without me because I was peaceful and I was happy.
They would have probably been better off without you. They would probably still be alive without you.
And I was home. But then I was told by Jesus that I needed to go back and complete things that I had covenanted or promised to do before I was born. This caused me a lot of distress because I knew heaven was my real home, and I only wanted to be there. I was free from pain, emotional and physical. But then I was shown how I would help my children and others in the future. So ultimately, I did agree to go back to my body.
Oh, God showed you that you were... Okay, hold on. God showed you that you were going to be helpful to other people and your children in the future by killing them? You were shown that's the work you had to do here on earth? And that's the reason Jesus sent you back? Ooh, looks like a trip to hell.
Tylee has visited me.
Oh, hell.
She is happy and very busy. Tylee is
I'm sorry, y'all. This bitch, this is angering me.
free now from all the pains of her life. Tylee suffered horrible physical pain her whole life.
Oh my God.
I sat with Tylee in the hospital year after year after year while she screamed in pain when the morphine wasn't even enough to take away the pain of her pancreatitis. I sat there while she cried and I held back her hair while she threw up. And I am the only person on this earth who knows how much Tylee suffered in her life. She had pain every single day. She never felt good. Her body did not work right. And I don't know if that was from complications from me dying while she was being born or something else, but she had a very difficult life. She was sexually abused by her own biological father since she was 3 years old, and she was forced by family court to go visit him for 10 years against her will. I fought for her in court. I protected her. I tried to protect her with my whole life. I tried to protect her. I worried about her every single day. Tylee had to get her GED because she couldn't go to school every day because she never felt good. She felt sick. Nobody knows this because Tylee, like myself, tries to put on a good front, tries to be a happy person, tries to have hope in life, tries to know that she's here for a purpose and that she has an eternal purpose to be on this earth. But I never stopped worrying about her. One of the times that Tylee came to me as a spirit after she died, she commanded me and she said to me, "Stop worrying, Mom. We are fine." She knows.
No, that was something your brain did to make you feel better about your guilty conscience.
How I worry and how I miss her. The first time JJ visited me after he passed away.
No, not after he passed away. No, ma'am, we don't get to skirt that. Skirt! Hold up, bitch. No, after y'all killed him.
He put his arm around me and he said to me, He didn't do anything wrong, Mom.
Oh, how nice of him. Oh, no, bitch. This is your brain playing games.
I love you.
Trying to make you feel better about your shitty fucking actions.
And I know you loved me every minute of my life.
Nope.
JJ, Joshua Jackson, was an adult spirit. And he was very, very tall when he put his arm around me.
Okay.
He is busy. He is engaged. He has
Why does she keep saying they're busy?
jobs that he does there. And he is happy where he is. His life was short, but JJ's life was meaningful. JJ was a wonderful person and touched the lives of everyone. And I adored him every minute of his life.
Did you, though?
My eternal friend, Tammy Daybell, has visited me on several occasions.
She has. Of course.
She came to bring me peace and comfort. And I know that she is extremely busy helping her family, especially her children and grandchildren. And I have a great...
So she came to give you peace and comfort. No, girl. This is wild.
great love for Tammy. My beautiful children, Kylie Ashlyn and Joshua Jackson, rest safely this day in the arms of Jesus. My wonderful friend, Tammy Daybell, rests safely this day in the arms of Jesus. And I look forward to the day when we are all reunited and I too will rest with them in the arms of my Jesus.
No, ma'am, you fucking will not. This whole little statement you just made took no accountability, just made excuses for everything. There's no, like, I don't understand, like, how dare you? And you think you finna get to heaven? Bitch, stop. You ain't going to heaven with that mindset. You ain't going to heaven without taking accountability and asking for forgiveness from your creator. That's just not going to happen. And it doesn't seem you're asking for forgiveness from your creator because it seems you don't think you really did anything wrong. You did nothing except help them. You relieved them from their zombie torturous life here on earth. And now they're just blissfully living in heaven and so grateful that you did that. Girl, you make me sick, bitch.
Having considered all of the evidence that I saw at trial along with the jurors, it's been a difficult task for me to narrow down and articulate all of the aggravating factors because really there are so many here. Murder is the most serious offense. And the most unimaginable type of murder is have a mother murdering her own children, and that's exactly what you did. You were involved in and guilty of conspiring to murder another group of children's mother, Tammy Daybell, who had children of her own. And despite the jury convicting you with overwhelming evidence, you still sit here before the court today and said you didn't do it. You came here to East Idaho, where I've spent my life, and moved here from another place already with plans in progress to make your children disappear. The evidence bore that out at trial. You removed your children from their home in Arizona, alienated them from friends and family, got rid of JJ's service dog. You moved to Rexford, a community where you could find 1,000 random families to take your children, and you brought them here to murder them. You had so many other options. You could have gotten divorced. You could have found someone to take care of those kids. But as the state was able to prove at trial, you chose the most evil and destructive path possible. You killed those children, according to the state's theory, and I believe it, to remove them as obstacles and to profit financially. You justified all of this by going down a bizarre religious rabbit hole, and clearly you are still down there. While you were enjoying...
He said, oh, I'm sorry. He said, clearly, he's saying everything I just said in the video. He's saying, clearly, you're still cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Your new life in Hawaii, countless law enforcement officers, family members, and volunteers were searching for your children. And I don't think to this day you have any remorse for the effort and heartache you caused for others who looked for your children when you knew where they were and knew they...
Tell her, Judge. Tell her. Yes, you say it so much more eloquently than I ever could. But that's exactly what I was saying.
Dead. They were found dead, burned, mutilated, and dismembered, and buried like animals. After you knew they were dead, you collected public-funded assistance payments meant for them, and that was blood money you kept for yourself. And that's the grand theft charge you've been convicted of.
Yes.
Your sister, your son talked to you, begged with you while you were in the jail during phone calls I heard at trial. And those were very sad and difficult calls to hear. And you didn't provide any assistance or comfort to them. During the trial, when the evidence came out about how these children were found in the state they were in, you wanted to be excused and not have to watch the evidence, and were fine to let all the other people in the courtroom, including the jurors, have to bear through that. However, I ruled that you did have to sit and watch.
Yeah, you did.
And see the result of your heinous crimes.
Got him.
The jurors in your case fulfilled their duty admirably. All 18 jurors we had, because we had alternates, went through the entire trial and faithfully fulfilled all their obligations and all the instructions, so we were able to get impartial jurors who weren't already tainted by pretrial publicity to decide your case. And I do thank the jurors publicly for the service they rendered. Those jurors I noted during the trial were very good at keeping their emotions in check and keeping stone-faced, as they're supposed to do, and be objective until the case is done and submitted. However, I did note at certain times during the trial, such as when there were videos and pictures shown of you in Hawaii at this time frame when JJ and Tylee were lying in shallow graves. The disgust on the faces of those jurors was evident, and shocking revelations about what happened here just kept coming through the trial. The crime scene was a horrific thing to have to review, and there's images that I will never get out of my mind, and I'm just looking at the pictures. Law enforcement officers who had to deal with the aftermath of what you did, I'm sure were traumatized, and I know it was traumatic as well for the jurors who had to sit through and see the photographs of these dead and mutilated and buried children.
She don't care.
For those people who loved and cared about JJ and Tylee and Tammy Daybell, to have to see those photographs of them through trial of their dead and desecrated bodies must have been devastating. Tammy Daybell was murdered as a result of your conspiracy. She was, by all accounts, a healthy, happy mother and wife through a lot of her life, and you were out shopping for wedding rings to marry her husband while she was still alive. You were planning a wedding to her husband while she was still alive.
Tell her.
You haven't shown any remorse for any of those actions.
Nope.
And she ended up being murdered, buried, had to be disinterred later so an autopsy could be performed in order to prove the evidence of what you had done. She didn't deserve any of that.
Nope.
You took her life away. You destroyed that family, fractured it to the point where, in the information I've had through the PSI, there are relationships that will probably never be mended that have rippled as a result of what's happened. JJ and Tylee, of course, 7 years old, 16 years old, were separate people whose lives were cut way too short because of you. Never got to grow up and be adults. The family and friends who have provided their impact statements, of course, have stated it better than I could about who they were, and it is a loss for everyone that you took them away from this world. And it is the most shocking thing, really, I can imagine, is that a mother killed her own children, and you simply have no remorse for it. Even
she just
sitting here
doesn't care.
today, there's no remorse for
Doesn't
what
care.
you did. After all of this evidence through trial, you haven't shown any remorse. You haven't said you're sorry. You haven't done anything to seek leniency from this court. There's been a lot of people during trial and here who explained the devastation you're responsible for, and you forever altered the lives, not in a good way, for many, many people, destroying family relationships, taking people away that were loved, cared for, and needed. You may not believe to this day that you've done anything wrong, and you still may think you're justified by your religious beliefs for what happened here. I'm not here to judge that, but I don't believe that any God in any religion would want to have this happen, what happened here. And your crimes are heinous and egregious, and that alone can constitute a major aggravating factor that requires me to impose a serious length of incarceration. So after weighing all those factors, I need to in aggravation, I find that the sentences I'm about to impose will serve the interest of justice by, number one, preventing you from ever doing this again.
Yeah.
That they will not depreciate the seriousness of your crimes, will punish you appropriately, and will serve to deter both you and others. So
Yes.
that concludes the aggravating factors the court considered. At this time, then, I am prepared to pronounce sentence. Mr. Thomas, Mr. Archibald, and defendant, would you please rise for the pronouncement of sentence?
Yeah, stand up, bitch. Stand up.
Based on all the relevant circumstances, including the evidence and recommendations presented in court today, it's the judgment of this court. Ms. Vallow, you'll be sentenced as follows. I'll first note I'm going to take up the counts out of order as I want to address the substantive murder sentences first. So on count 2, the charge you were convicted of, the first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence of fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole.
Woo! Yes.
On count 4, the charge of the first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow, you are sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate life imprisonment sentence with no possibility of parole.
2 for 2.
I'll next address the 3 conspiracy counts you've been convicted of.
Yeah.
And note, under Idaho Code 1817-01, the punishment for those crimes is the same as the underlying offenses you combined to commit. One of the offenses you combined to commit was first-degree murder, so those may be punishable also by imprisonment for life.
Yeah, buddy.
When I look at what the appropriate sentences should be for the conspiracy charges, at first I wondered if they should be as long of a term or serious as the substantive murder charges. However, what I've concluded is that these conspiracy convictions merit the same grave punishment for several reasons. First, the conspiracies in which you engaged in have had far-reaching impacts on many people besides the deceased victims. And with what the court's heard, I am convinced that the conspiracy charges also merit the same serious sentence. So on count 1, the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tylee Ryan and grand theft by deception, you're sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. On count 3, the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception, you're sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. And on count 5, the conspiracy to commit the first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell, you're sentenced to the custody of the State Board of Corrections to serve the maximum allowed sentence, a fixed determinate term of life imprisonment with no possibility of parole. Finally, the court will address count 7, which is the charge of grand theft. On that charge, court is going to sentence you to a fixed determinate term of 5 years of prison, followed by an indeterminate term of 5 years of prison, for a total 10-year term of imprisonment on the grand theft. Court will next consider whether sentences should be imposed consecutively or concurrently. I generally don't, I'm a pragmatic person, and I've struggled with the point of a consecutive sentence when in Idaho, a life sentence is just that, a life sentence without parole. And I've thought it through. However, when I looked at this case and the more I thought about it, I've determined that because there are 3 separate murders with 3 separate victims that occurred at 3 separate times, then running counts concurrently would not serve the interests of justice, because those crimes all need to be taken into account separately and distinctly and individually. And you need to be held accountable separately for each of the 3 murders. So
Fuck right.
on those counts, the court will run consecutively the count 2 murder of Tylee Ryan, consecutive to count 4, the murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow, and count 5 will run consecutive to count 2 and 4, the conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell. So 3 consecutive life terms of prison.
You done.
The remaining counts will be concurrent to the counts that are consecutive. The court will impose fines as requested by the state in the amount of $25,000 for all counts except the grand theft. On the grand theft, the fine will be in the amount of $1,000. The court will assess the civil penalty that was requested, and I find it's appropriate under Idaho Code 1953-07 of $5,000 per victim on each of the 3 victims as a civil penalty. And then finally, the restitution, which was requested by the state. Mr. Wood, if you could reiterate that number, $22,000, of what the restitution term is. And I want to inquire if there's any other restitution being sought by the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe I said $22,545. And the state would ask for an additional 30 days to submit any further restitution for the victims, living victims who have been deemed as such by this court.
The court will assess that restitution on the grand theft charge of $22,545 as shown through the evidence at trial. And the court will allow 30 days for additional restitution requests, but that will be waived if it's not submitted timely.
You done, bitch. Too bad we can't put
That'll
you in
conclude the
firing
court's
squad.
sentencing on the charges. Mr. Thomas, do you have any questions on the sentence?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wood, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
All right, counsel, before we conclude, and Ms. Vallow, importantly, I need to advise you of the rights you have now. You do have the right to appeal to the Idaho Supreme Court from this judgment of conviction, and you have a right to be represented by an attorney if you appeal. You're also advised if you can't afford an attorney will be appointed for you at public expense, and you only have 42 days to file an appeal. You also have the right to seek relief from my judgment under Idaho Criminal Rule 35. You have 120 days to file that motion if you believe a correction or reduction of this sentence is appropriate because it was either illegal or too harsh. And finally, you may also have rights to seek relief under the Idaho Uniform Post-Conviction Relief Act. Those actions have to be filed within 1 year from the day your right to appeal expires. Do you understand those appellate rights? All right, she acknowledged yes. The defendant will be required to submit DNA samples upon remand to the Idaho Department of Corrections. I'll ask the attorneys to please turn in any copies of the pre-sentence investigation reports or addenda so those can be kept in confidence and additional copies will be destroyed. And Ms. Vallow, you are hereby remanded to the custody of the Sheriff of Fremont County to be delivered to the proper authorities of the Idaho Department of Corrections for execution of this sentence. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That will conclude our sentencing hearing.
Got him. All rise. Yeah, buddy. Got him. Oh, nasty ass heathen. You should be ashamed. Ooh.
Off to hell with you, boo-boo.